Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. The US dollar has been in the center of this system since the 1940s. The dollar was as good as gold till Vietnam when Nixon removed the gold peg. We are on the verge of something cataclysmic. A tectonic shift is underway. Our unipolar world will be multipolar, with new decentralized rails allowing commerce to take place at the speed of light.
Well, clearly, it indicated that the dollar is going to reign supreme 25 years from now. And I think embedded in that is a lot of optimism that the world will stay together as one block 25 years from now. And there's a lot of, 25 years, as Ken said, is a long time. Certainly, there is a pressure towards regionalization, and maybe these regional blocks don't sort of have free flow of capital between them if we really mess things up. And we shouldn't rule that out as a possibility, at least two, maybe three regions. So in a multipolar world, what does it mean to be the dominant reserve currency? Less clear. Also, I wonder about the point about a non-central bank reserve currency. I presume digital reserve currency. I presume some kind of crypto. I think from everything we've seen and experienced, for a means of payment, you really want stability of value, and that's where the central banks come in.
What does the world look like 25 years from now? Well, everything revolves around the dollar because the US is the largest economy in the world, but we're seeing other nations progress, and we may see trading blocks that are not bound by geography. The same technology that's upgrading the financial system may be able to upgrade trading blocks, which allow nations from all over the world to get together for more efficient economies of scale. And I find it rather funny that the central banker of India is saying that there needs to be stability with whatever reserve asset is chosen for these trading blocks. There needs to be a stable price. Well, they have their shot today and they're failing epically. We already know innovation like algorithmic stable coins allow for stable value to happen inside the crypto world. So we don't need another institution, another central bank to ensure that value is stable, nor will you have some type of organization by the powers that be to make sure that this institution is intact. We will most likely see the free markets in action, and the free markets will decide what they want to use as a trusted asset between trading blocks.
So I can see a private digital asset which is linked to a fiat currency, where a central bank sort of manages the value of the currency. I'm less confident that we will see a untethered, unanchored digital crypto as a widespread means of payment.
Think about how crazy this is. You have the central banker of India discussing a crypto asset replacing the dollar as the reserve currency at the World Economic Forum in front of a bunch of central bankers. And of course, his answer is biased. I mean, what is he going to say? That a crypto asset can replace all of their jobs? He's not going to say that.
Even the problem that happened with FTX and crypto and some of the banking problems that happened after that were actually tied back to some of the deregulation Trump had done in his first term, where he took regulations off medium-sized banks. And what do you know? They got into trouble very quickly thereafter. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a wild ride. I hesitate to pick on one thing.
They are trying to scapegoat deregulation, but the fact is there has been numerous reports saying that Operation Choke Point was the reason why Signature Bank failed, Silicon Valley Bank failed, and others have failed. It had nothing to do with crypto. It had everything to do with regulators trying to orchestrate a crisis. Now, think how crazy this is. We elect officials, they pick regulators to enforce regulations, not even to create regulations, and they're manufacturing a crisis.
Does the world need a reserve currency?
Well, I mean, the quick answer to that is if we all lived in a Davos, globalized, cooperative world, no, the efficient thing is to have one currency. It's by far the most efficient, and there are various ways to run it. We don't. And so that's, for one thing, even if it was cooperative, we don't necessarily totally trust the competence of the United States to manage things. The U.S. does mess up periodically and cause problems for everybody. It's one reason you want to diversify. And another reason, we've heard in Erosion's discussion and Raghu Rajan's discussion, we don't completely trust the U.S. in general.
A reserve currency was the most efficient way to move money across borders for the time. You see, everything was backed by gold, and the dollar was backed by gold. Everyone decided to use dollars instead of actually physically moving gold because the dollar was as good as gold. Well, fast forward to today, and that's no longer the case. Now, think about the complaints. There's no reason to trust the U.S., and there's no reason to think that they're competent enough to control global macro policy. So, in other words, if it's not broke, we won't fix it. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Things are going to break. The U.S. is going to demonstrate its incompetence. It's going to reveal to the world that they cannot be trusted. And this is already happening, not at a grand scale, but a medium-sized scale. You saw this with Russia and the sanctions. You saw Russia's assets get frozen. There's a lot of reactions happening in the global macro policy arena.
That are listed, as the share of GDP, US GDP in the world falls, the ability to meet the demand, the surging demand for these safe assets, for liquidity of the rising emerging world, that is just, it's contradiction. This is just not enough. And second, liquidity provision. The US signed swaps, bilateral swaps with a handful of advanced economies, leaving the other, there's a big gap. And so China has since signed 40 bilateral swap lines, 30 which are very active and played a very key role in providing liquidity for the developing world after the financial crisis. And that is still a very much an unmet demand that the dollar is not able to, we haven't solved with that. And over-reliance on the dollar, it does leave these emerging markets prone to financial crisis. The booms and bust of the dollar appreciation, that's again something that has not been solved. So when it comes to the ease of transaction payments, well, certainly the digital payment system is going to be much faster and more transparent and low cost. And so that is, really going forward. So I think there's still some big questions that especially given, the situation in the global economy, lots of developing countries are in huge trouble, have not recovered post-pandemic.
If the dollar has an inflationary policy, you'll see hyperinflation with smaller economies. And if they're in a constrictive monetary policy, you'll see Great Depressions with smaller economies. So with crypto asset technology, one of the huge benefits that it'll have with macroeconomics is you'll see a depegging of currencies. No longer will the dollar's currency have an effect like it does today. And this lady was from the China Central Bank, and they're talking about digital payment systems, and that's what China's CBDC is defined as a payment system. But more importantly, the crypto asset technology is going to allow nations all over the world to transact without purchasing dollars, without worrying about dollar monetary policy, and simply swap one asset for the next asset.
Ideas for instance, blockchain comes from economists who were talking about taking power from the central banks and giving it to the people. That is, introducing competing monies. And this was in the 1970s. And then eventually this blockchain was introduced. And today we will be talking about what are the perspectives for the future of money.
Competition is a cornerstone of capitalism, and capitalism's goal is to make everybody's lives better. So why wouldn't we have currencies competing with one another? Why wouldn't we have nations competing for our citizenship? A while back, there were various projects that were dedicated to digital ID. There were nations that were trying to create an digital ID type of system where people from across the world can apply to become citizens. They would pay taxes in exchange. They would be able to vote and have benefits that fall under the citizenship of the country. And this is something that Trump just pushed out, and it went unnoticed, but the idea of a gold card. So instead of a green card, he pushed the idea of a gold card, which cost $5 million to join the United States, to become a U.S. citizen. It's funny, about a year or two ago, everybody was concerned about digital ID as well as CBDCs, and now nobody seems to care at all.
Is government. And I think that there governments now around the world have to compete for us, and you're seeing it with Japan saying, okay, we'll take Bitcoin, and Singapore and Switzerland saying, hey, we'll do ICOs, and you're seeing Estonia saying, hey, we'll be an e-government, and so you're starting to see governments starting to compete with one another for the great entrepreneurs of the world and the capital and all that. I like the idea of new technologies, maybe from the blockchain, maybe from just making government more efficient. I'm looking for anything GovTech right now. And of course, insurance, banking, real estate, any of those industries that really hasn't caught up to the new way of operating. I think those are all fair game. Really exciting times, and we're looking for entrepreneurs from all over the world that really go after any of these industries where you're getting bad service at a high cost.
Well, this is exactly what Doge with Elon Musk is trying to do. As a matter of fact, Tim Draper is an investor in SpaceX and other Elon Musk ventures. So it would not surprise me that what's on Elon Musk's mind, how the government is being transformed, is in the same group of people that Tim Draper associates with. It's almost surreal seeing all the things that we've been talking about on this channel come to fruition. Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this, please consider joining my Patreon or my ghost site, dmjr.ghost.io. Thanks, guys.